Good morning, everyone. Today we're checking into a brand new video from Creature Archives. Now, before we hop in, and you all remember last time, the radioactive Godzilla monster was facing off for the first time against the colossal ape King Kong monster. But before they could, something blotted the sun from the sky. A massive flying creature with 3 heads. That's right. It's time to see if King Ghidorah could ever exist. Let's hop in.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Creature Archives.
Glad to
Today
be back.
We're continuing the series Evolved Fiction, where I take iconic creatures from movies, myths, and games, and reimagine them through the lens of real-world evolution and biology, exploring just how close nature could come to turning fantasy into reality. In this episode,
From fiction to fact.
we're tackling the false king himself, King Ghidorah.
False King. Never heard him be called that before, but I like
This
it.
three-headed kaiju has terrorized Earth for decades. From his first appearance as a destroyer of cities, to his modern incarnation as the ultimate rival of Godzilla.
God, I love that
But what
movie.
if Ghidorah wasn't just a movie monster? How big could a flying creature actually get? Could a species on Earth evolve the ability to shoot lightning? And perhaps most outrageously,
The 3
could
heads?
evolution ever produce a creature with 3 heads and 2 tails? We'll explore
Yeah,
all
here
of
we
these
go.
questions and more using biology, physics, and evolution to see just how close real life could get to Monster Zero.
This
And be
is
sure to
gonna
stick
be
around
good.
until the end, because this episode builds directly on both the Godzilla and King Kong in real life videos, concluding the epic showdown between all 3 titans.
Hell
So if you
yeah.
haven't watched the previous 2 episodes yet, be sure to go check them out.
I
So
did.
without further ado, let's discover if evolution could bring this 3-headed force of nature to life in this episode of Creature Archives.
Grey Wolf, the Ice Wolf, the Bone Wolf, Rock Drake, the Mocking Drake, and Apollyon and Scylla.
Alright, buckle in folks, because we have a lot of ground to cover in this episode. I am not exaggerating when I say that this is by far the most difficult creature I have decided to take on in this series.
Oh, what
In
you
comparison,
think?
Charizard and Godzilla were walks in the park. Let's break down the key features of King Ghidorah that I've selected to be the primary goals for bringing this creature to life.
Let's see, that should be the 3 heads, the golden scales, the lightning breath, and flight.
First up, 3 heads. Alright, off the bat, this is probably the biggest challenge of all the goals I'm going to set. I don't know if you've noticed, but we don't exactly have an abundance of 3-headed or even 2-headed animals walking around. So this one's gonna be tough.
The closest you could get to that would be in, like, Spore.
Oh, and Ghidorah also has 2 tails because why not? Though compared to the 3 heads, as you'll see, this is far less problematic. The second goal we're going to tackle is his size. Much like the Godzilla and
size.
King Kong
Okay.
videos, I need to state the obvious. We can't create something as large as the kaiju-sized King Ghidorah from the films. That size
Well,
just
obviously.
isn't biologically obtainable, least of all for something like Ghidorah that wants to fly. So our goal will be to make the largest flying creature that I think is theoretically possible on Earth. And our third and final
Okay.
goal is, of course, to get as close as possible to Ghidorah's iconic lightning blast. And don't worry, while we will be drawing inspiration from the biology of electric eels, this will actually be a unique kind of ranged blast. Before we get into the first goal, I should make a note, because quite a few people asked me while I was making this video if the species I create is going to be an alien like the actual King Ghidorah. And while that would make my life a heck of a lot easier, no.
Yeah.
For the purposes of this video, our Ghidorah will evolve on good old planet Earth. Quite frankly, we have no way of knowing what the rules on an alien planet would allow in terms of evolution. And it would be way too easy to just use "he's an alien" as a cop-out.
He's an alien. Boom. He looks exactly like the movie. Nah. No cop-outs.
So for the first goal, the question is there any real-life biology to go off of for a creature with multiple heads? And the answer is sort of. There were a few ideas I saw people suggesting for achieving this look. One was simply to have arms or other body structures evolve to resemble heads. And I did consider this, as
like
it's probably
him.
the simplest solution,
Hydreigon.
but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I wanted Ghidorah to actually have 3 heads, because that's a huge part of the charm behind his design. So then there were 2 other approaches.
Damn it, Kevin.
The first is something we see very rarely in nature, polycephaly, the condition of having multiple heads. This can arise from a variety of genetic and environmental factors, usually during embryonic development. In the wild, though, 2-headed animals rarely survive to adulthood. Each head is trying to control the same body, often causing conflicts in movement and behavior. That's why you don't see
Yeah.
two-headed snakes slithering around in the wild.
They don't
Polycephaly
ever
is usually
survive.
a developmental burden rather than an advantage. The second option I considered is what I like to call the nautical option, making King Ghidorah evolve from cephalopods. No, I'm not joking.
Go on.
Octopus have something known as a decentralized nervous system, where each arm has a large number of neurons that act sort of like a mini brain, allowing the tentacles to operate independently.
Oh.
However, Ghidorah looks nothing like a cephalopod and is a fully terrestrial and airborne vertebrate.
True.
And so the question became, which of these options did I think was more likely to evolve into a viable species?
The polycephaly, while it does, create more heads, as you said, it also has the issue of causing them all to all try and control the same body, leading to most likely infighting and a lot of harm during development. So it might be better to go the squid route.
And the answer is a little bit of both. There's no single real-world comparison we can draw from to replicate Ghidorah's three heads. But by looking at polycephaly in nature and decentralized neural control in creatures like octopus, we can imagine a plausible evolutionary pathway that would make a three-headed vertebrate workable.
Okay.
Our Ghidorah lineage
Both.
starts with a small, flexible necked ancestor. The closest real-world relative at the time would have been Lonchodectes, a small-toothed pterosaur. This ancestor had an unusually long neck with many cervical vertebrae, a developmental region highly sensitive to changes in Hox gene expression, making it a plausible site for rare duplications or patterning anomalies that could lead to split-neck morphologies.
I
These
can see
duplications
that.
can occasionally cause partial bifurcations of the skull and neck. At first, this is a liability, but under the right ecological pressures, these split-neck mutations could persist, giving us the first major step in
Ooh.
the evolution of Ghidorah.
Oh god, even just the look of the outline is hideous.
Fair warning, this wave of individuals in the lineage would not look very pretty. And that's because, quite frankly, they would be freaks of nature. The first
Yeah,
member of
no
the lineage
shit.
is Tricranus primordialis. Over generations, natural selection acts on these mutations. Individuals with partially bifurcated heads may gain subtle advantages: a wider visual field, the ability to manipulate food more efficiently, or additional
God, it doesn't even look like it has a second head. It looks like its mouth has been split 4 ways.
sensory input. Crucially, for a fully viable multi-headed creature, the nervous system had to adapt.
Oh.
The primary head retains overall control, while the secondary head develops dense clusters of neurons, similar in concept to octopus arms, allowing it to coordinate semi-independently for tasks like feeding and scanning the environment. This would be a
Okay.
striking example of convergent evolution, where unrelated lineages evolve similar solutions to comparable challenges.
Oh yeah.
In this case,
like
Tricranus' semi-autonomous secondary head mirrors the distributed neural control seen in cephalopods, or even in certain reptiles with independently moving eyes. Each evolved
Now, actually, one quick downside to that is it was actually pointed out that King Ghidorah's heads are able to communicate because they have some kind of form of telepathy between them. Most reason why in movies is because their necks are too damn long. So the thought would have to go down, across, then up, and that would take a long time, even though it should be instantaneous.
own way of decentralizing control to improve sensory coverage and multitasking. This gradual stabilization leads to the second evolutionary stage, Tricranus bifurcatus.
Ooh,
Here, the
there you
split
go.
neck trait is fixed in the lineage, producing a functional two-headed organism.
That
Genetic
looks
changes
good.
include further Hox gene modifications, permitting consistent cranial and cervical bifurcation, along with remodeling of the brainstem and cranial ganglia to coordinate control between the two heads. Dense neural clusters allow the secondary head to act semi-autonomously without interfering with the primary head's central control.
Not
Now,
bad.
what about the two tails? In comparison, this is much easier to justify biologically. Just like polycephaly, there are mutations in real life that can lead to two tails. And unlike multiple brains, this trait is far less likely to be fatal. In fact,
clearly.
having two tails could actually prove crucial for a creature like Ghidorah. While generally two tails might be clumsy for flight, the forward weight of 2 or 3 heads makes stability a problem. Two tails act as counterbalances, distributing mass and aiding maneuverability during flight. Through
Makes
millions of
sense.
years, selection favors individuals where the additional head provides clear advantages, more effective hunting, better environmental awareness, and enhanced displays during courtship. By this stage, polycephaly has transitioned from a rare developmental accident into a heritable and functional trait. The groundwork is now laid for the
You could actually add in canon that the central head and whichever one has like a big old crest or something is seen as like a better potential mate or something. I don't know,
Eventual
there's something
emergence of the
there.
third head, which will complete the iconic tricranial morphology, though we won't quite show the three-headed final species off until we tackle some of its other key traits. But before we do that,
Okay.
I want to take a moment to thank the sponsor helping bring today's video to life, World Anvil. Now that we've covered how Ghidorah
light.
could evolve 3 functional heads, the next monumental challenge is size. Just how large could a flying creature get, and what adaptations would be necessary to make it biologically plausible? Let's walk back through the evolutionary history of Tricanidae, this time focusing on growth, anatomy, and flight. Our first split-neck individuals,
Look at the eyes, though.
Tricranus
Sorry.
primordialis, are raven to eagle-sized pterosaurs, with wingspans of roughly 1.5 to 2 meters. Their heads are mostly fused, with only minor bifurcation of the skull or eyes, and their necks are beginning to show early fork development. The body is lightly built, emphasizing efficiency in flight, with long flexible cervical vertebrae. At this stage, there's no special adaptation for massive size.
Apparently not.
By the next stage, selection has stabilized the bicranial condition, producing Tricranus bifurcatus, with wingspans expanding to roughly 4 to 6 meters, similar in size to a pteranodon. Neck musculature has thickened at the base, forming a tripod plate for stability, and the chest has broadened with a more pronounced sternum to anchor flight muscles. The body becomes stockier to accommodate the increased load of 2 fully functional heads, while wings remain long and efficient for soaring. Lightweight air-filled bones reduce weight without compromising strength, and a broader chest allows for more powerful pectoral muscles. And finally, we arrive at the colossal dragon-like apex of the lineage. This is where some major adaptations have to come into play. Our final Ghidorah stretches from head to tail up to an astonishing 22 meters or 72 feet in length.
Damn, that
is
is
stands
massive.
when raised up to 11 meters or 36 feet tall, and it weighs up to 1,000 kilograms or 2,200 pounds, and
Holy
possesses a
crap.
monstrous wingspan of 30 meters or nearly 100 feet. This makes this by far the largest flyer to ever soar through the skies of our planet,
Yeah,
towering
no
over the
shit.
real-life largest flyer of all time, Quetzalcoatlus. For reference, this creature would have a larger wingspan than many jets and small aircraft today. Now, 1,000 kilograms might seem awfully light for a creature of this size, and for most large vertebrates, this would be absurdly low. I mean, this creature is eye level with our realistic Godzilla, yet on the higher end of weight estimates, it weighs nearly 30 times less. Even King Kong, who is shorter and not nearly as long, weighs 3 times as much as our realistic Ghidorah. However, this all comes down to not only pterosaur anatomy, but the special adaptations this species has that will allow a species of such enormous proportions to still be able to fly.
Oh, I'm gonna guess a shit ton of air bladders.
Several key adaptations make this biologically plausible. First, like real pterosaurs, Ghidorah has a pneumatized skeleton. Its bones are hollow yet reinforced with internal struts, dramatically reducing mass while maintaining the strength needed to support its enormous wings and serpentine necks.
Good thinking.
Second, gigantothermy and low-density soft tissues help keep the creature airborne. Its flight muscles are highly optimized for power-to-weight ratio, and internal organs are compacted to minimize bulk. Thick, powerful musculature is paired with relatively low-density connective tissue, meaning the body can sustain flight without being prohibitively heavy. In addition, gigantothermy provides a stable internal temperature, which is critical for muscle efficiency and neural function. This thermal stability allows Ghidorah to remain active and fly in a range of climates from cooler waters to high-altitude air currents, without needing to constantly expend energy to warm its body, making sustained flight at such massive sizes biologically feasible. The wing morphology is another critical factor in keeping Ghidorah airborne. Its wings are extremely large with a high aspect ratio, meaning they are long and narrow relative to their width. This shape is ideal for dynamic soaring and long-distance gliding, allowing Ghidorah to cover vast distances with minimal energy expenditure. The wing membranes are also reinforced with pycnofiber-like structures, which are hair or fur-like filaments similar to what we see on some pterosaurs. These serve multiple
That's actually pretty good, because it would help keep air trapped.
purposes. They provide slight structural support to the delicate wing membranes, insulate the creature during high-altitude flight or in cooler climates, and most importantly, smooth airflow across the wing surface, improving lift efficiency and maneuverability. Subtle adjustments to the curvature and tension of these wings would allow Ghidorah to make precise aerial maneuvers despite its enormous size. The cervical and chest adaptations are equally crucial. The three-necked arrangement is anchored by a broad fused cervical base and reinforced pectoral girdles. dense connective tissue, ligament systems, and keratinized ridges
It's all
along
in
each
the
neck
chest.
help distribute weight and resist bending forces, ensuring that the heads do not sag or destabilize the body during flight. Each head is coordinated through the central brain, which synchronizes movement and helps manage the mechanical load across all 3 necks. Energy efficiency and metabolism also play a crucial role. Ghidorah would likely rely on a combination of soaring, intermittent flapping, and dynamic use of thermal currents to minimize energy expenditure. By taking
Using
advantage
natural
of
updrafts.
updrafts and gliding from high elevations, it can cover long distances without continuous wing beats, conserving energy while hunting or migrating. And finally, takeoff mechanics are a key constraint for such a giant. Like giant Asdarchian pterosaurs, Ghidorah would use a quadrupedal launch strategy. Both forelimbs and hind limbs would push off simultaneously in a coordinated leap, allowing the massive wings
jump.
to catch air immediately. The powerful chest and shoulder muscles generate initial lift, after which the enormous wings maintain altitude with minimal effort. And if you're still not convinced, while this isn't a perfect one-for-one comparison, a Quetzalcoatlus, which was comparable in height to a T-Rex, actually mirrors this weight discrepancy quite closely. Through these anatomical and physiological innovations, Tricranidae could achieve truly massive sizes, while still remaining capable of flight.
The lightning blast.
Few abilities in the animal kingdom.
Now, yeah, of course, you're not going to be able to make it exactly lightning like what Ghidorah already has, but you could probably make it some type of electrical spit.
Seem more fantastical than generating electricity, yet nature has already provided the blueprints. From the electric eel's high-voltage burst to the electric ray's defensive shocks, evolution has proven that biology can harness electricity for survival. But how could such a trait emerge in a flying reptile? One that needs to generate, store, and project electricity through open air? The answer lies, as always, in small beginnings. The earliest members of this lineage may have first developed electroreception, the ability to sense faint electrical fields, useful for detecting prey in low-visibility conditions. Over time, certain neck and jaw muscles evolved specialized ion channels and nerve connections that allowed minor discharges, tiny involuntary pulses used for communication or deterrence. As these structures became more specialized, the tissue itself began to change, gradually transforming into true electrocyte cells, muscle-derived units that no longer contracted, but instead stored and released electrical energy. Eventually, these cells organized into large stacks concentrated within the 2 secondary necks. The result was the first primitive electric organs. These were fed by dense capillary networks and localized energy reserves, all controlled by dedicated neural pacemakers that synchronized the firing of thousands of electrocytes to produce a single powerful pulse. But electricity in air presents a unique challenge. Air is a poor conductor. To overcome this, the species evolved another remarkable adaptation, a saline ion-rich mucus secreted from ducts at the tip of the outer heads.
Electrical spit!
This thick mucopolysaccharide-based fluid, made of long, sticky sugar molecules that trap moisture, acts like a biological gel. It's packed with sodium and potassium ions, making it highly conductive compared to dry air. When expelled, the mucus stretches into a cohesive filament or spray, rather than dispersing instantly. For a brief moment, it forms a wet, gel-like bridge between Ghidorah and its prey, holding together just long enough for a powerful pulse to leap across. Once that connection is made, the neck organs fire, sending a charged bolt racing through the mucus and into the target. Close-range discharges are even simpler. The creature bites, coating its prey with highly conductive saliva, and releases electricity directly through the contact point. Because this conductive bridge depends on moisture, these pterosaurs are most effective hunters in humid climates or stormy conditions. Rain, mist, and coastal air keep the mucus from drying too quickly, allowing for reliable long-range discharges. In contrast,
and funny enough, everywhere Ghidorah goes, there always is a massive storm.
Dry environments weaken the effect. The mucus evaporates too fast, breaking the circuit. This environmental dependence naturally shaped their ecology, favoring coastal regions, wetlands, and storm belts where humidity and static charge in the air amplify their abilities. But of course, power comes at a cost. Those electrocyte stacks are metabolically expensive, demanding immense amounts of ATP and oxygen. After a major discharge, the animal must rest and recharge. The glands that produce conductive mucus also need to replenish their ion stores, often achieved by consuming mineral-rich prey or seawater. Finally, to protect itself from its own power, the creature's vital organs are shielded by keratinized ridges, air sacs, and specialized ion-buffering tissues that prevent electrical backflow.
Good thinking.
Through gradual refinement, from electroreception
Good thinking, nature.
to weak shocks to high-voltage discharges, This lineage evolved one of the most extraordinary adaptations in vertebrate history, a living, flying thunderstorm.
It's beautiful.
And there you have it, our realistic King Ghidorah. Introducing Tricranus Tempest, the apex of the Ghidorah lineage.
The three-headed storm. God, I love it.
This isn't just a creature, it's a living storm. A three-headed predator that dominates both sky and land with unmatched power. And now that we have brought this beast to life, we can discuss not only how this creature would live, but the impact of its existence.
Let's go!
Tricranus' history stretches back to the small, flexible-necked ancestor Tricranus primordialis, which managed to survive the KPG extinction by virtue of its adaptability. Small, generalist, and opportunistic, it could feed on insects, small vertebrates, and carrion, while its elongated, flexible neck gave it an edge in diverse habitats. It even developed a rudimentary form of electroreception, allowing it to detect the faint bioelectric signals of hidden prey. By dipping its snout into shallow, murky waters, it could sense the presence of fish or buried mollusks beneath the surface.
Oh, okay,
These traits allowed it to persist when larger, more specialized pterosaurs vanished, laying the foundation for the polycephalic evolution to follow. Over time, natural selection acted on rare Hox gene duplications, leading to the two-headed Tricranus bifurcatus, a stable, functional bicranial flyer that occupied coastal regions, wetlands, and archipelagos. Tricranus Tempest is a predator unlike any other. It is capable of taking down megafauna with its three heads working in concert. The main head delivers precise lethal bites, while the two secondary heads restrain prey and deliver stunning electrical discharges through highly conductive saliva.
Oh boy, it rips and tells. That elephant is worried.
These discharges are most effective in humid or rainy regions, allowing Tricranus to capitalize on environmental conditions to enhance hunting success. It is also a versatile predator. It can soar low over lakes or coastal waters, electrifying schools of fish to capture them en masse, or locate carrion from great distances, scavenging marine carcasses or terrestrial megafauna. Its extraordinarily massive wings allow it to cover thousands of miles across oceans and continents with minimal energy expenditure, soaring on thermal currents, riding high-altitude winds, and even tracking storms to take advantage of atmospheric conductivity. Despite its terrifying predatory capabilities, Tricranus Tempest is largely solitary, only coming together briefly for reproduction. Its enormous size and high energetic demands...
You know, now I gotta ask, does this thing lay multiple eggs, one egg, or does it have a live both?
...limit reproductive output, with very few offspring produced over a long lifespan. Juveniles require years, possibly decades, to reach full adult size, maturing slowly as their bodies develop the musculature and skeletal strength to reach such massive sizes. These giants exist in small numbers around the globe, sparsely distributed due to their massive ranges and solitary habits. The combination of polycephaly, electrogenic specialization, extreme flight ability, and versatile hunting strategies make Tricranus Tempest not only one of the most terrifying predators the world has ever seen, but also one of the most ecologically influential.
Alternate history.
Though Tricranus Tempest feels like a creature of lost ages, it never truly vanished. Its kind endured quietly through the world's upheavals, surviving extinction, drifting with storm fronts across changing continents, and occasionally crossing paths with humankind. With its sheer scale, thunderous wing beats, and electrical discharges lighting the clouds, it's no mystery why early civilizations saw Tricranus not as an animal, but as something divine. The earliest known depictions trace back to the Fertile Crescent and the Indus Valley. In Mesopotamia, clay tablets describe a multi-headed storm serpent, whose roar brought rain and lightning, a being worshipped and feared as a servant of the sky gods. This legend eventually evolved into the Lernaean Hydra of Greek myth, slain by Hercules. Meanwhile, in East and Southeast Asia, Tricranus Tempest was seen not as a demon, but as a celestial guardian. In early Chinese and Japanese folklore, dragon-like beings that controlled the weather were said to bring the rains of life. Villagers would leave offerings at shrines after great storms, believing the dragon had gifted their crops water. These myths persisted for centuries, with sightings of Tricranus soaring high above monsoon clouds.
Oh, you know what? You could even actually use this to create Yamato no Orochi, the eight-headed serpent of Japan.
Interpreted as proof of divine benevolence. Across the Pacific, the great thunderbirds of Native American lore bear striking resemblance to Tricranus. Among Plains and Great Lake tribes, thunderbirds were colossal winged beings that brought storms, lightning, and life-giving rain. Some stories describe them battling serpents of the underworld. It is theorized by the modern scholars that these may have been actual clashes between Tricranus and other survivors of their ancient world. To these cultures, these were not monsters, but sacred forces, embodiments.
I was gonna say the name of that skull. What was it? Skull Jockey? Damn it, I can't remember the name of that monster from the King Kong movie. It was Skull something.
Of nature's power and balance. In Europe, however, perception of these creatures were much darker. Medieval accounts tell of sky devils and tempest drakes, said to descend from the clouds to snatch livestock and on rare occasions humans. Chroniclers wrote of entire villages torched or struck by lightning following their appearance. The church branded them demons, heralds of divine wrath, and so began the hunts. Knights and kings sending their bravest to slay the serpents of the storm. Most of these so-called victories were exaggerations or misinterpretations, but occasionally a dying or juvenile Tricranus may indeed have been brought down. Its immense wings and golden hide were seen as trophies, proof of righteousness over evil. Renaissance explorers sailing through the tropics reported colossal winged forms gliding through storms, describing them as wind eaters that seem to draw lightning into their throats. Today, Tricranus tempest remains rare and solitary, but very much alive. Most are concentrated in remote tropical zones with high humidity and frequent storms. Indonesia, coastal Africa, the Amazon basin, and Pacific islands. Satellite imaging and atmospheric tracking have confirmed what ancient peoples once guessed. These creatures follow storm systems across entire oceans, using the charged air to amplify their electric discharges. In modern day, they are considered a critically endangered species. Centuries of their young and occasionally adults being hunted by mankind, along with a world less and less able to sustain such massive creatures, has caused these numbers to dwindle substantially. They are protected under international law, their habitats preserved through multinational conservation efforts. Tricranus typically avoid densely populated regions. Yet, on occasion, one will stray too close to civilization, following a thunder front over farmland or coastal plains, wreaking havoc on livestock. Despite their destructive potential, Tricranus tempests are not inherently malicious. They are predators and wanderers, relics of an older world trying to survive in a modern one. And yet, even now, humanity can't help but look up in awe. When lightning splits the sky and the clouds flicker gold, people still wonder whether they've caught a glimpse of the storm that never died.
Ooh, I like that. That was cool. Ooh, here we go! To the fight!
The roar of the Thermoradiosaurus still echoed through the bay when the sky itself split open with light. From the clouds above, a Tricranus tempest descended, a living storm given flesh. Its three heads writhed with contained fury, arcs of lightning crawling down its necks as it shrieked a challenge that shook the jungle. The Thermoradiosaurus turned, releasing a guttural bellow that steamed the rain-soaked air. The two titans of storm and sea now faced one another, two of the largest species to ever live.
I just realized as well, with Kong we have land, with the Godzilla we have the sea, and with Ghidorah we have the sky. It's an ultimate three-way fight.
Both from an age long gone. Without hesitation, the Tricranus struck first. A searing bolt of lightning arced downward, striking the marine giant across its flank. The impact sent up a column of steam, scales crackling and flesh searing. The reptile staggered, roaring in pain. But the storm beast didn't relent. It wheeled overhead, banking sharply through the rain, lightning arcing from its wings as it circled back for another strike. The heavens flashed as Tricranus dove and unleashed its wrath, driving the massive Spinosaur back into the shallows. The Colossopithecus troop, watching from the tree line, huddled low beneath the torrent. Their leader, the Alpha, who had defied the Thermoradiosaurus only moments before, now stood motionless, his massive chest heaving as he watched the two titans clash. Each time Tricranus dove...
Is he trying to figure out which side to join in the fight?
The Thermoradiosaurus lashed upward, jaws snapping, waves breaking around her as she tried to strike the tormentor above. The Thermoradiosaurus dipped her mouth into the water, gulping down hundreds of gallons of seawater. Her glands ignited, throat glowing like molten metal, and unleashed a blast of superheated seawater as the storm beast dove for a final strike. The torrent struck true. The main head of Tricranus Tempest reeled back with a roar of agony, golden scales blistering, electricity faltering. Smoke and blood mingled with the rain as the creature crashed into the beach with enough force to shake the earth. The jungle fell silent. For a heartbeat, it seemed as though the storm had died. But then, the beast rose again. Wings tattered, one head burned and thrashing, it lunged forward. No longer a god, but a cornered animal fighting for its life. The two collided with primal fury. Claws and fangs met armor, each blow echoing like thunder. Tricranus' remaining head struck again and again, tearing into the Thermoradiosaurus's flank, while the sea beast used its sheer weight to drive the storm drake backward across the land.
Come on, Kong, join the fight!
And amid the chaos, the Alpha Colossopithecus moved.
Yes.
He saw his moment, the fallen spear. Half buried in the wet sand, its metallic tip still glowing from the Thermoradiosaurus's heat. Gripping it in both hands, he roared and hurled it skyward. The weapon struck with terrifying precision, piercing through one of Tricranus' outer skulls.
Yes!
The storm beast shrieked, arcs of uncontrolled lightning tearing through its body, searing the sand around it. The Thermoradiosaurus lunged in that same instant. With a final surge of power, she slammed her bulk into Tricranus, driving it onto its back. Sand and seawater erupted in all directions as she pinned it beneath her weight. One last desperate lash of wings, and then silence, as her jaws closed around the central head. The crunch of bone and the wet hiss of extinguished lightning filled the air. And then with a single heave, she tore the head free and swallowed it whole. The storm faded. The Thermoradiosaurus stood triumphant, chest heaving, her armored scales glowing faintly. She turned
That's how you kick some ass.
toward the sea and released a victorious roar that rolled across the jungle. A column of scalding vapor erupted from her throat. At the edge of the tree line, the Colossopithecus troop gathered. The Alpha watched in silence for several long moments, before turning back to his kin. His massive hand gestured towards the forest, a command to move. They vanished into the mist, the faint crackle of lingering electricity, their only reminder of what had transpired.
An amazing
When the storm
fight.
clouds finally parted hours later, the beach lay in ruins. Charred sand, the twisted remains of Tricranus Tempest, and the fading warmth of the Thermoradiosaurus's breath mark the site of one of nature's rarest events, the meeting of three living relics from lost worlds. Today, scientists still argue as to what could have prompted this fight. Was the Tricranus Tempest simply hungry? Was it defending its territory? Or was this encounter a small glimpse into some deep-seated rivalry between the last giants of an ancient world?
Ooh, I like that.
Thanks for watching this episode of Evolved Fiction. The art for this video was created by Delta Reaper 54, so if you want to see more like it, be sure to go check out his work. His info will be in the description below.
Alright everyone, that's going to be the end of today's video, and I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see all of you next time when we flick back on. Till then, this is Fox, signing out. Peace.